Hello, welcome back. Today we are going to make a frame for a painting. I'm thinking that this should be a pretty simple DIY to do, mostly because my boyfriend and I tried to make a frame for a painting a couple of weeks ago, but we didn't have a few things that we have now that I think is going to make it a lot easier. To start with, mostly one thing we didn't have that I think is going to make it easier, which is a brad nailer, which we have bought. There's still a tag on it. We instead were hand nailing in the nails to attach the frame to itself, which was really difficult. So now I have the brad nailer, and I think that making this frame is going to be a lot easier. So you may be asking yourself, what painting are we framing today? Well, I'm going to make a frame for this bad boy. I made this a couple of weeks ago. You saw my January challenge where I finished all of my unfinished paintings. That was one of them that I finished in that video. The stuff that we're going to be using to frame it, so the vibe that I'm going for is a little bit like vintage frame. So I want it to be a golden frame, and I want it to have some visual texture going on. What I did was I went to Home Depot. In their wood trim section, they have a bunch of like decorative trim that can be used for a whole bunch of different things. And they have actually a picture frame piece of trim. So it has like this lip right here that the painting sits on, and yeah, and then it just becomes a frame, and it has this fun texture on it, and it looks really cool. They had like a frame example up there, and I really liked it. So yeah, that's what we're doing today, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so some steps for this. We are going to need to cut the wood, sand the wood. I measured my painting, the top, sides, and bottom and everything. And then I cut the pieces of wood. It was a little bit tricky because of this lip, so I measured, instead of just measuring from this bottom point all the way to the next one, I had to measure from the lip to lip, which made it a little bit difficult. What I ended up doing was just resting the trim on the painting and then marking each side of it. I cut the pieces at a 45-degree angle on a miter saw, which you can also use a miter box and a handsaw if you don't have a miter saw that is electric. So I cut all of those pieces, I labeled them so I know which piece is which, and then I sanded the sides and any like rough areas before I put it together, because I thought that that would just be easier. And now my next step is going to be putting it together. So I'm actually going to, this is not going to be a removable frame. I'm going to attach the whole thing to the painting, and it's just going to exist like that forever. I think this is hopefully going to make it a little bit easier, and I know that I want this painting in my house and I want it to have this frame. And if I ever don't want it to have this frame because I'm attaching it with brad nails, knock on wood, hopefully if I removed it, it would just be some holes that I would have to fill and then paint over again, which isn't really a big deal. And if I sold it, I would just sell it in the frame. So my next step is I'm going to attach all of this stuff onto the painting, build the frame, and then after that, I'm just gonna paint it and hang it up. So I'm gonna lay everything out on the floor and put it all together, and we'll see how it goes. I don't really have a solid plan. I know that I'm using brad nails, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay, I quickly want to say a few things while you're watching me put this together. A, I should have done this on a table. Would have been a lot easier to secure via clamps. so that I could get the right angle to hold the brad nailer and brad nail it in, and I think it would have been safer. It was definitely not safe for me to hold the pieces together like I was holding to nail them. There is a chance that a nail could have gone straight through the wood and into my hand, and I should have taken that into account. So please be careful while you're using those power tools. Otherwise you'll see me put the pieces together in 2 L's before I attach them to the canvas. I thought that would be a little bit easier to do so I did it like that. And yeah, keep enjoying watching me put this together.
So you saw me put together the frame, nail everything in, and then the last thing I did was put a base coat of black. It was like half black mixed with half brown paint so that it wasn't too dark, so that when I dry brush the gold, it won't be solid color, and I like the look of that better with black kind of peeking through in the crevices. So I'm gonna go ahead and dry brush the gold on there now. that's done, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think that this was a lot of fun. It was super easy. It only took me a couple of hours to do. And this is the first time that I've ever actually accomplished anything like this and done it myself. So I'm pretty stoked that it was that easy. And I think it's a great way to frame my paintings in the future easily. I totally recommend, if you're looking for a cheap, cost-effective way to frame something that you've painted or just a piece of art that you have, I definitely recommend it. And I'll see you guys later.